18. He's had 2 fourth places in the opening 2 rounds. He's 8th in the championship and already on double the number of points he managed in his rookie 2019 season. Pack racing. The main question is whether Furusato can continue to show that. But at least for Furusato, he has been busy with his Red Bull Rookies performances as well. But big task for him from that second row of the grid to maintain that 100% record. Stephen
Face and another Charles Sharil, who managed to get in 2 European talent.
It's interesting whenever we see some of the Asian Talent Cup riders move across to race in the European. Asian riders, they want to get the chance to go race in Europe. The CEV paddock, obviously a real opportunity for them. It's been ground for riders from this region. You come from the Middle East, Asia and down in Australia.
Yes, there will be another qualifying tomorrow for what is round 4, which is Saturday afternoon's race, and Sunday. 100 points out of 100. Can he maintain that unbeaten run over the course of the Indonesian round this weekend? Lights out on race 1 of 4 at the Mandalika International Circuit. And the immediate fast start is with Daniel Sharil, the pole sitter. Will watch out for Furusato, the number 15, cutting his way to try and claim the racing line in towards turn number 1, but he's going to get squeezed up there between 2 bikes. Another tries to come round him. He jostles for position. Sharil, who leads the way, very tight as you'd expect among that lead group. Just a second covering the top 10 riders, and a faller towards the second half of the group as they make their way through. And that's always one of those perils. It's going to be a first non-scoring race of the season for him. 5th in the series standings. He was also 5th position on the grid. Incident, this time we get to see it, and it's exactly as I suggested, a bit of bumping and boring there in towards turn 10.
Yeah, and it looks like he just might have gotten a bit of a punt from behind and helped into that exit, but for Hamada it's not going to make too much difference. He knows he's down and out. And there,
and it's Hongo, who was the race leader at the start of the previous sector, who's missed out there. I think missed the corner completely, frankly, just went to the outside line.
The course the last 2 years has meant that it's been a fairly curtailed start to his international career, but good to see him able to get out here in the Asian Talent Cup for a full season and learn from the
Saturday afternoon and Sunday. So 50 is about the marker that Furusato will be aiming for at the end of tomorrow morning's race, when he could well take control, take the trophy in the Asia Talent Cup.
You can see Carter Thompson there on the number 6 trying to get down the inside. This is what's interesting in the final couple of corners. You can see there one of the other riders just running well right wide there. There is going to be a number of lines you can try and attack down into these last couple of corners. I think whenever we look at the superbike races later in the week, it's going to be a real case of that could be one of the key block passing opportunities. The Asia Talent Cup bikes, obviously very different kettle of fish, but you're going to see a lot of moves made into that section of the track, just trying to force the move almost at the front of the field. First
up there with him, his previous best finish in the Asia Talent Cup, a 7th place in Qatar 2020 and 2 9th positions in 2021.
Yeah, we're just seeing that number 5 is the rider on the move in this. That's Miai as well down there as well, and
he's finisher in race 1 of the Qatar Grand Prix and also race 1 of the Doha Grand Prix. The 15-year-old currently 5th position in this race, and the group beginning to fracture now, or the groups beginning to fracture, as you can see. We've got 6 riders at the head of the field, all separated by a second. Then we've got 2 riders rather isolated, 7/10 of a second back, including Deo, who we picked up from 9th position down. Is a completely separate race. Best part of 5 seconds, in fact now 5.5 seconds from 9th position down. They're all setting personal best laps to try and make back lost at lap number 4.
Yeah, it looks like it's down at turn 7 just before you come to those fast right-left sequence in the middle of the lap. But at the front of the field, you're seeing Furusato still coming under pressure from Daniel Sharil, but Sharil hasn't gotten close enough to try and make an attack on him at this stage.
Yes, we saw the top than Sharil, a few tenths of a second faster than Furusato, who is still your race leader, who is making ground in the middle sectors of the lap.
Bit of a lead, he was able to close right up on them.
Yes, we can see here Azrian Deo, who we noticed running wide earlier on from the lead group, so it's a separate fight this for 7th position, and we have seen Herjan Ferdaus defending that P7 throughout this race. Frankly, Deo's been on his tail for the last couple of laps around. We completely 48 points, might be about to gain a position here because we've seen Thompson running wide. Hongo moves in front of him into 4th position. Sharil with an opportunity. This is where we find out what Daniel Sharil is able to do without that toe from Furusato, because if he gets in front of the 2 riders directly in his path here, he's going to have something like a second to cover to 3rd position.
Yeah, still going to have a bit of ground to make up in that position, and that looks like and well, another rider's gone down. It looks like it's down at turn 10. And we've seen a bit of action down there all the way through the running so far.
I think that's Timon who has gone down on lap 8 of 16. So the Thai rider who was on the fringes of the points, who was in that 5-way battle, and we're going to see the incident perhaps here, and it's going to be 2 riders involved. That's a straightforward situation of Timon, who has gone down and collected Turaki Buapa, I think that is, who was alongside him, and he has now remounted to continue on in the race, but clearly out of contention when you're in a pack race like that one. And that group has now become a 6-rider group instead of the 8 or so who were all involved.
Yeah, it is starting to split up a little bit, and the reason for that is you've got to try and make those attacks, and you can see there for both of those riders on the run down into 10. For Buapa, he was at least able to get himself remounted, get back out there, but for Tom Timon, he's obviously out of this race. It looks like the stewards are going to investigate that incident as well. It did look like the number 16 of Tub Timon was at fault for that, but also a bit of a racing incident there. You're going to try and make moves into turn 10.
Yes, it does look as though that's the passing place of choice for these Asia Talent Cup riders, and Wacharan Tub Timon, the 18-year-old from Thailand, left Cap 2, have been able to break away in the Asia Talent Cup. It's 0.6 of a second now, the gap to bridge for Daniel Sharil. A new personal best for Sharil last time around. He's just come across the line. That's Hongo who's gone down, coming off the final turn. So Hongo, who was one of the riders in the 4 riders, the quartet chasing 3rd position, he's gone down spectacularly there, coming off the final turn.
Yeah, looks a good bit of gravel pushed onto the track as well in the exit there, the last corner, but that's a shame for Hongo. But we've seen that obviously in that second part of the group, the riders have to push on because they're seeing it start to split out, and yeah, he just runs out onto the green paint, and there is that bit of a kick off the curb there for him. You can see there the
level of the curve certainly different to the level of the track and the asphalt surface around the curve. I was saying earlier on, Steve, when we were watching free practice in Superbikes, we saw Jonathan Ray at one point come down off a curb and get all unsettled by it. These curves do seem to be particularly high here in Indonesia. This is a new venue, and we're talking about smoothing out the circuit.
Needs a couple of tenths of a second with that look over his shoulder to see who was around him, but he's still got a good amount of pace in hand. We'll see if he's able to really try and stretch out his lead now in this lap. He looks like he's got his head down, wants to try and really be aggressive and open up a bit of a gap. It was only 0.2 of a second when they came across the line. It's up to half a second now.
Yes, as you can see on the screen, the gap to the leader, 0.8 of a second for Mie in 3rd position, and it could very well turn into a duel between Sharil and Mie here for 2nd place, because Furusato really kicking on. Sharil responding around that latest sector through the twistier stuff and in towards turn 10. They're making their way now, the leaders, through turns 11 and 12. It switches on to the final sector as we switch back to the battles further down the order. Well, they've switched at just the right time. Deo making a lunge down the inside. I think that might have been of Aditama, and both of them have gone down and into the gravel trap. And Deo looks, Aditama looks none too pleased with Deo there after that ambitious move down the inside. Another incident at turn 10.
Yeah, and for Aditama, that was out of 6th position and on course for a really good performance here at his home round. See Carter Thompson then making a move through the fast right-handers at the end of the lap.
And this will be for 4th position as Hakim Danish loses a place. Carter Thompson then through back into P4. These two have been swapping and changing. I suspect that if we'd been watching just that battle, we would have seen another 100 of those overtaking manoeuvres. We're now on to the penultimate lap of the race for the leaders. For Osato, 0.4 of a second up ahead of Sharil, who's got in front of Mie and made a 0.3 of a second advantage.
Yeah, and you can see there Aditama there on the number 3 going down, and again, like you said, Alex, another move into turn 10. It's easy to be a little bit ambitious on the run into there, and just to have an instant like that at the front of the field, though. Furusato is doing a good job now just to keep that lead at around about 0.3 of a second. Sharil's digging in. Last time around in the final sector, he did close back to within a couple of tenths of a second, but it's really difficult to try and close that gap then in Furusato.
And haven't we seen that already in 2021 in the Asia Talent Cup? Furusato happy to lead at the front of the field, happy to try and break his rivals in both of the races at the Doha Grand Prix. Furusato has had only one finishing position in 2021, and they've all been worth 25 championship points. Sherrill then 2/10 further down, and we've got a fall, and is that Danish? Yes, it is. It's Danish who's gone down in his fight with Carter Thompson. Last time over the line, he was in front, I think, of Thompson in the battle for 4th place. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, keep an eye in the background, and you're going to see for Danish, just tries to be a little bit aggressive through that last corner, trying to make sure he's able to close up on Carter Thompson to set up a move on the final lap, and just asks a bit too much of his Honda machinery.
Yes, now look at the leaders, a 10th of a second between them on this final lap. Sherrill has managed to find something a little bit special, a little bit extra. He was stuck down in 6th position at one stage. He's fought his way through onto the tail of Furusato. Furusato still unbeaten in 2021. Daniel Sherrill might be about to have a go at stopping that from being the scenario. They make their way now in towards turn 10. This has been an action hotspot all race long. It's been an incident hotspot all race long as well. Furusato there defending to the inside. It's going to be single file through here, turns 11 and 12 in towards the final sector. Sherrill chooses now down the inside into 12, catches Furusato by surprise. Opportunity for Furusato on the number 15 here to make a recovery in similar fashion as they come off 13 and 14. What about a lunge into turn 16, the slowest corner on the circuit? Daniel Sherrill looking for his first race victory since his return to the Asia Talent Cup. He was last a winner in Thailand 2018. He's fighting for the lead here against Furusato, the championship leader, who goes soaring around the outside bravely. 2 turns to go, 16 and now 17. They come through the left-hander, and it's Furusato who once again leads. It is Taiyo Furusato of Japan to make it 5 wins out of 5, and the inaugural race victory at the Mandalika International Circuit goes to Taiyo Furusato. The first time this season that he's been off pole position, the first time he's ever been off pole position in the Asia Talent Cup, but he doesn't disappoint. He comes through to the front. He leads almost throughout. Daniel Sherrill was disappointed with that, shaking his head in his hands practically as he made his way back in towards turn number 1. Sherrill second best, but only by 2/10 of a second. That's 3 races in a row now where he's tried to give Furusato a real run for his money. Gunmie with his 3rd podium finish of this 2021 campaign, 2nd time that he's finished in P3. Carter Thompson, an isolated 4th position in the end after late drama for Hakim Danish. So it does look as though we're only going to have 14 finishers to this race. I think I cursed it earlier on when I said that there hadn't been that many retirements in the Asia Talent Cup in 2021. And that means that Fadilla on the Raycat Fadilla making his debut in the Asia Talent Cup is a strong performer, the Indonesian rider, with P5 ahead of Hujan Firdaus, who takes P6, and Sherrill, Pratama, Fujita and Buapa eventually remounting to come home for 10th place. So a bit of wacky races at times, but the one thing that was, as we might have anticipated before the lights went out, a fine victory that from Furusato, bold around that final sector in particular.
Yeah, Furusato coming through from the 2nd row of the grid, and he'll have to do the same again in tomorrow morning's race, but certainly for him, he was able to show once again the talent that he has on offer. That last corner move that he made through the long right-handers, the ever-decreasing radius right-handers, it really was impressive. That took your breath away, really, and Daniel Sherrill did nothing wrong during the course of that race. He holds the right line on the run into those right-handers. You saw him whenever he came across the line, he had to look up to the skies and just think, what do I have to do to win a race?
And aggressive when he needed to be as well through turn 12. I wasn't expecting really to see a move there, but Sherrill had got close enough to try and strike and capitalised on the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think for Sherrill, put everything he could onto this and left it all on the track, and we saw that he was able to set fast lap times to bridge himself back up to the 2 race leaders. But ultimately in that final lap, Furusato just had that little bit in hand, and a really daring move by Furusato. But that's why he's the rider that's already guaranteed to be on the World Championship grid next year.
This is one of the men of the moment as far as the Indonesian spectators here this weekend will be concerned. Raycat Fadilla, the number 24, on his Asia Talent Cup debut, and coming home for podium area. We will have celebrations with our top trio. But Furusato, as far as he's concerned, another race victory. It's only 5 points gained, damage limitation for Daniel Sherrill, but if he is a race winner here tomorrow, that will be enough to seal the Asia Talent Cup.
Yeah, and certainly you wouldn't bet against it for Furusato with the form that he's been in, and just the manner in which he was able to take that race victory. and could well be the latest Asia Talent Cup champion as early as the opening race of tomorrow. And certainly from that point on, it's going to be a very different weekend as well, because we also have a qualifying session tomorrow morning, and that'll set the grid then for races 3 and 4 this weekend.
Yes, we're what in this 2021 Asia Talent Cup?
Well, you can't bet against Gun Maye as well, because he was very impressive in this race. We saw him able to set a series of fastest laps and come through that leading pack in the early stages, so he's going to feel that he's got a chance of being able to close up and really challenge tomorrow as well. But certainly Daniel Sharil looks like, from that pole position in particular, that he's going to have a good chance of being able to try and take the fight once again to Furasada.
Yes, Gunmie taking the third position in race 1. Just lacked a little bit of pace in the closing stages, dropped off on those last 2.5 laps and eventually finishes 1.4 seconds down. But he was able to take the fight to Furasato until, well, the first 13, 14 laps, frankly, on the number 5. And we saw him fighting his way through at one stage to hit the front as well. Tried to unsettle Furasato, but he is a cool head, is the youngster, just 16 years of age, your race winner. Second place going the way of Daniel Sharil, and your race winner, the number 15 of Tayo Furasato. Second place, and the trophy being given to Daniel Sharil. It's third second place in a row, so he's only lost 15 points over the last 3 races. The majority of the deficit comes from the opening 2 of the season. And Daniel Sharil, number 21, finished in 7th position and 6th in the opening 2 rounds of his return, his comeback event, effectively, the Qatar Grand Prix. Gap then
for the opening race of tomorrow as well, so we'll see if he's able to get across the line and claim that championship.
Tayo Furasato is your race 1 winner here at the Indonesian round 3 of the 2021 Asia Talent Cup. 0.2 of a second his winning margin over Daniel Sharil after a bold last lap outside overtake through turns 15 and 16 to recover the lead from Sharil, who'd fought his way through. Gunmie taking best of the rest, P3 for him. He was at one stage a race leader. Only 14 finishers. Good to see some Indonesian riders in the points here today as well, including Raykat Fadilla on his debut in the Asia Talent Cup, coming home for P5, and he looked very satisfied with that, and I think it was almost as if he had earned a podium here today. Plenty of retirements, as we said, 7 of them in total, and the most relevant in the context of the championship was Hakim Danish. Now, Danish, who was a podium finisher in 3 of the opening 4 races of this season, was tied with Gunmie in the championship standings for 3rd overall, and he is the rider who drops back as Carter Thompson makes progress into 4th in the standings. Your top 3 in race 1 here at the Indonesian round, your top 3 in the championship. Furasato leading the way on 125.46 up on Daniel Sharil, 2nd on 79, and Gunmie 3rd on 73. A victory here tomorrow for Tayo Furasato, and he will have claimed the Asia Talent Cup for 2021. But Sharil and Mie, who were on the podium today, will hope to have another go. And remember, again, Tayo Furasato will have to start from 6th position for race 2 tomorrow morning. A separate qualifying will take place tomorrow morning as well that will determine the grid for races 3 and 4.